This is going to be an extremely quick video. I've been lent something rather interesting by a friend of mine. As you can see, it's the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 0 and its development board. I'm making a video about it, not really to fire it up or anything. It hasn't got an operating system on it. It's really to have a look at the device and discuss what position it has in Raspberry Pi's strategy or future. What are they trying to do with this board? Anyway, let's unpack it. In the box, there's the development board in a foily bag and a little stick-on Wi-Fi antenna. If I open it up, it's a PCB about the size of a Pi Model A Plus with, as you can see, it's got the Compute Module 0 board in the middle. It's a postage stamp style module with crenellations around the side with all the signals brought out. On it is the RP3, which is the chip you'll find on the 02W. It's basically a Raspberry Pi 3 in a system on chip. There is a eMMC storage on this one, and there is a Wi-Fi module, and the rest appear to be just power supply components. The board has a camera connector, a LCD display connector, a HDMI connector, and just like the 0 and 02W, it's got a power connector, which is a micro USB, and a USB connector, which is also a micro USB. I'm unsure why they didn't make those two USB-C, but there you go. There's also an SD card. The SD card is for booting the Pi if it's the version that doesn't have the eMMC storage, which neatly brings me to my friend also. He's evaluating these for a device that he wants to produce. He also got hold of a module. If I can get it out of the bag. Sorry, this is taking so long. There we go. This is the standalone module. This one happens to be the version that doesn't have an eMMC. So if this was fitted to that, he would have to boot it from the micro SD card. Now, the interesting thing about these devices is that you cannot buy them from the Raspberry Pi store. You can't buy them from any of your normal Raspberry Pi suppliers. They're just not available except from OEM suppliers in China. These came from LCSC, which is a board assembly house in China. And the reason is this is a China-only device. It's an attempt to make a minimalist Raspberry Pi on a module available as a component for OEMs to include in their devices. So if you're making a device and you need a Linux computer in it, and you fancy having Raspberry Pi's amazing software and Linux support, then these are the boards for you. And as such, it's a very enticing thing. It's not an incredibly powerful Raspberry Pi. It is Raspberry Pi 3 speeds, but it's got 512 megabytes of memory. So you're not going to run a high-end desktop on this thing. But that is plenty to do most Raspberry Pi tasks. If you've ever run an original Raspberry Pi Model B, that came with 512 megabytes, and you can do a hell of a lot with an original Raspberry Pi Model B. This is the same idea, but much faster and with 4 cores. So it's an enticing product, and I can see exactly where Raspberry Pi want these to be. They want you to be able to buy a product that includes a Linux computer, and it's a real Raspberry Pi, because let's face it, most Chinese system on chips, they will run Linux. There's some very enticing little boards, but the problem is that you get one Linux kernel if you're lucky, and then the support dies out. Where this falls down is the price, I think. Raspberry Pi will sell you one, or rather LCSC will sell you one for somewhere, depending on which version, between about $27 and about $35 a throw. Now, that's for single numbers, but even in quantity, the price breaks are not enough to make it what I would call cheap. I think that's the Achilles heel of this product. It is a great idea, but somebody manufacturing something that needs a little Linux computer in it is going to want something cheaper. Now, if you get this under $10, I think it would be an absolute winner. I don't know whether Raspberry Pi can do that. What I suspect will happen is that Chinese manufacturers will see this product and will produce their own clones. You'll be able to produce something with a very similar pin out and size with a All-Winner or Rock chip or whatever other system on chip on it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I hope this module has a future, and I hope we find it in products, if nothing else, because it will make very hackable products. You'll be able to put your own firmware on it because the Raspberry Pi firmware is so available. But we'll see what happens. And otherwise, we'll see what happens with any Chinese clones that come out. Anyway, I have this thing. I thought you'd like to see it.
Enjoy this video? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, but also support the non-profit I'm part of, Trans Rescue. We get transgender people like me out of dangerous and dodgy places worldwide. Thank you very much.